Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavat Padam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Ishavasya Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyan Jagata Tena Tyaktena Bhunjithaha Ma Grudah Kasya Svidhanam. Idam Sarvam, all this, Yatkincha, whatever is there, Jagatyam, in the world, in the universe, which is classified as Jagat. The word Jagat means Gacchati, the Jagats. So that which is constantly in motion is called Jagat. That means that is constantly changing. And whatever is created is ultimately going to perish. Therefore, everything that is created changes. We may or may not be able to discern that change, but everything is moving or towards perishing. So this is Jagat that is changing, expanding and then contracting, etc. Ishavasam, it should be covered by meaning known as Ishvara. The word used here for the truth or Satyam is Isha, Ish or Ishvara, the ruler. Some word has to be used. So word ruler, as we said, every word has a counterpart, and the ruler generally brings into mind the ruled, and therefore ruler is generally known in relation to ruled. So every word that way will literally convey only duality, because every word has a counterpart. Inasmuch as the ruler also is limited, because the ruler is not ruled, however great the ruler is. The ruler does not include rule, because otherwise he can't be ruler. So however great the ruler is, it excludes what is ruled. And Ishvara cannot be excluded, we cannot exclude anything. Therefore we said in the morning that ruler also has to be seen only in a secondary sense. It is true that our scriptures will describe Ishvara as a ruler with number of arms and number of weapons and controlling the whole universe. But if ruling is to be taken literally in primary sense, then nobody can rule, because ruling then also involves some kind of an effort. Because by nature nothing wants to be ruled. Everything loves freedom, therefore nothing wants to be ruled. in order that thing be ruled, that it must be controlled. Its instinct of freedom has to be controlled so that it follows a certain law. And all of that involves effort, involves strain. And therefore, if Ishvara is ruler in primary sense, then he also becomes perishable because some effort is involved in ruling. Any action involves effort. And in that case, Ishvara also becomes perishable. He can't be called Ishvara. Therefore, the ruling also cannot be in the primary sense. So all we can say is that Ishvara rules not by an effort, not with some weapons, etc. He rules only by his presence. So ideal ruling is there where the ruled does not realize that they are ruled. That is ideal ruling. The ideal management is where those who are managed do not realize they are managed. That's ideal management. And Ishvara is ideal ruler. Where the ruled do not realize that we are ruled, we are still free, they think, And therefore, this ruling does not involve any action. It is merely by his presence that Ishvara as the rules. Just as Lord Krishna does not need to make an effort to rule everybody, by his very presence as the rules all the cowherd maidens and cowherd boys and everything that is in Vrindavan. But the mere presence, there's a presence of love. So we can say how Lord Krishna is a ruler without ruling. He's in the center and everybody turns around him, Similarly, the whole universe seems to be turning around. But then, Ishvara, who is said to be ruler, is just there. So very presence is adequate to rule. Imagine how powerful that presence must be. Maya adhyakshena prakritihi suyate sacharacharam. Lord Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita that I am just adhyaksha. I am just a conscious presence. Hetunanena. That the conscious presence that I am is enough for the Prakriti to carry out this creation, sustenance, dissolution. So most amazing thing is that the truth of all this motion is motionlessness. Because all this motion ultimately resolves into Ishvara or Brahman, who is motionless. Truth of all the change is what? Changelessness is the truth of all the change. Or karma is going on, action is going on. The truth of all action is what? Actionlessness. Unbelievable. Is it not? So that's what Vedanta teaches. Akarmaya pashed. When karma is being performed, recognize that there is akarma, the actionless, in presence of which all this karma takes place. So ultimate reality is just presence, just is. Meaning that just being is enough for everything to happen. No effort is needed, no sankalpa is needed, no will is needed, that effort is not needed. Keneshitam patidi preshitam manah. What is it? By whose command this mind performs activities and the speech, the organ of speech talks, and I say, ears hear. What makes all this possible? Again says, eye of the eye, ear of the ear, meaning that it is self, the consciousness, by which whose presence makes all of this function. So this is the great secret that Vedanta reveals. The actionlessness is the truth of all the action. So if you want to recognize Ishvara, and Ishvara must be recognized only as a self. That's the real knowledge of Ishvara, as this one also says. Bhashyakara says, how does he rule? Bhashyakara says, Sai Saram Ishte. He controls everything, he rules everything. It's not in your book, it's in my book. So that's the advantage I have. I always have an upper hand here. It's like the wrestling guru. He taught all sorts of tricks to his disciple. And disciple became he thought that now I know everything. He challenged the guru and started wrestling, and then guru did something. And this fellow was, flattened out. So what happened? I didn't know. I said, this thing you did not know. This is Katorada. I know it, So this Katorada, which I alone know, you don't have. We don't give you those things. Because they are afraid that otherwise you won't listen, Here tradition don't even give you translation. I said, please give them translation. Word meaning is too much, so at least that much I could get out of them, that you get translation. What these words, mantras mean. But Bhashyakara says, Saiswaram Ishte, indeed he rules everything. Sarvanyantanam Atma San, by being the self of all the beings he rules. By the virtue of being Pratyagatma, the indwelling self, he rules everything. And therefore, Ishavasyam, we must, Vasyam means Achadinam, to be known that you to know Ishvara, who is, and then deliberately what Isha is used, the ruler, because we see the world being ruled. We see that all these forces of nature are ruled because they all follow a certain law. The powerful forces like the sun and moon, Bhishasmad Vatah Pavate, Upanishad says that it is by fear of him that the air blows, wind blows, sun rises, fire burns, clouds rain. All of these are acting as though they are obedient servants. Is it not so? Every element, even the powerful elements, there is no freedom. Fire has no freedom other than to burn, and so sun has no freedom other than to shine. Sun cannot decide, today I will take a little break and I'll wake up an hour later. When I'm not feeling well, I'll go home an hour early. You and I can do that because we only have free will. Nobody else has that. So, that is not given to anybody. Therefore, everything follows automatically the harmony. But all of this resolves into a law which is motionless, actionless, just presence. Sarvanyantanam Atma San, by being Pratyagatma, by being very self, the Ishvara rules everything. And Atma is consciousness. By virtue of being self, the innermost self, the innermost truth, everything, it rules. So understand that for ruling no effort is required, no weapons are required. Even though our gods are all shown with various arms and weapons, which is true, to show the all pervasiveness, number of arms are there, weapons are there, all power, omnipotent, omnipresence. But ultimate truth of that is, because if Ishvara has to rule everything, he'll get tired. Is it not so? You ask managers here. There are 40 workers here, I know in those days of Swami Prashantanand, he used to, and you get exhausted. And ruling and controlling everybody. Bhagavan will get exhausted. He's lying on his serpent bed, The Lord Vishnu, who is a ruler and sustainer, he is doing what? Nothing. Lying on serpent bed and not even awake, he is asleep. All gods are only meditating. Brahma also is meditating, and Vishnu is also meditating, and Lord Shiva, all meditating, and everything is. So creation happens, sustenance happens, dissolution happens. They're all meditating, not doing anything. Prakriti suyate sacharacharam, in presence only. The Prakriti does what it does. And so Bhashyakara says, In simple version, pratyagatmataya ishte. He rules everything by virtue of being the self of all. Just as the gold rules the ornament. Ornament has no freedom other than to shine. So whatever the ornament has in terms of its preciousness, in terms of its shining, all of this is due to gold. So this is called ruling, that the effect has no freedom other than what the cause in fact imparts to that. That is how Ishvara is to be known. Vastyam, Achhadaniyam, meaning Jnatavyam, has to be known. There is no action involved. Not that you have to cover something, you have to see something. But that's the language here. You must cover everything, cover all the ornaments by gold, and coming back to cover the snake by the rope. And by the way, we saw a real snake just now. Because we keep on remembering him, snake and snakes. So he thought, let me give you darshan. And snake was right in the balcony, in the building where I am, and right behind where I am sitting. I was not sitting there. But I guess if you remember, things happen. You may not want them to happen. So, cover the snake by rope means recognize that what appears as snake is in fact rope. So what appears as universe is in fact nothing but Ishvara. What is Ishvara? Motionless, actionless, just a presence, conscious presence. Asti, bhati, is, shines. And how is that Ishvara to be? Where is that Asti Bhati? Where is that limitless? Limitless cannot be out there. If it's out there, then it is limited. Is it not so? Out there means it is the object of my knowledge, consciousness. And whatever I know, whatever is object of knowledge, has to be limited by my instruments of knowledge. Therefore, Ishvara, who is the self of the universe, has to be known as my own self, as myself. Says Ramana Maharshi, Isha Darshanam Swatma Rupataha. The real darshanam, the real knowledge of Ishvara is when I know Ishvara as my own self. That's not arrogance. There is also respecting Ishvara, because I respect myself the most. And if I know Ishvara as separate from myself, that means I am somehow keeping him away from me. Or Puja Swami just say, bhakti is fine. But then, don't keep Ishvara ultimately away from you. The real love is that you have no distance at all. Total inclusion, and that is the self. So knowing Ishvara as myself, knowing myself as the self of all, the whole universe, self of whole universe. I, Swamiji, I know who I am. This entity is Ishvara, is self of all. It is. Not what I think it is, but what it really is. So this, whereas the Upanishad asks us to understand what's the reality, it is also in a way asking to understand your reality of ourselves. You're taken for granted that you are a limited individual. That I'm so and so. I'm a human being, a man, woman, good, bad, happy, unhappy. Where did you see the self to realize that I'm happy or unhappy? Has anybody seen Atma? I'm limited. On what basis do you say that? On what basis do we have this conclusion about ourselves without having seen us? You know that? If you see something and then draw a conclusion about that, it's understandable. Nobody has ever seen Atma. Because you cannot split yourself into the knower and known. Self, I cannot become the object of my own knowledge. You can lift yourself, in England, you can't lift yourself by bootstraps. You know bootstrap? Boots have straps. If you want to lift yourself, lift your bootstrap. Can you? Can you ride on your own shoulder? Give me a simple example. Just I cannot ride my own shoulders, so they cannot be, I cannot be simultaneously the knower and the known. So knower, known, both of them have to ultimately resolve. If I am just knower, then I am excluding the known, is it not so? And therefore, that knower also has to be dropped. That's a great renunciation. Tena tyaktena bhunjitaha, next line says, may you gain this knowledge and protect this knowledge by renunciation. The ultimate renunciation. What's the ultimate renunciation? Ultimate renunciation is renunciation of my own self, meaning my notion about myself. It's ahankara. You have ahankara, meaning that I notion. You don't mean ego, etc., pride. Ahankara is meant the I notion. But ahankara is used in our day-to-day language as meaning pride, arrogance, etc. But here ahankara is even in more fundamental sense that aham gets an akara, the I, which is formless, becomes having a form because of what? Because of identifying with this upadhi. It's like gold, thinking that I'm a bangle. That's ahankara. The gold is ahankara. What is it? I'm a bangle. How did it arise? By identifying with a name and form. And so also the I identifies with a name and form, such as this. I'm Swami, so and so. That's called ahankara. Ahankara means I notion. The sense of individuality. On that you build up various things, but then the basic ahankara is the sense of individuality. In aham there is no individuality. Because I use the word aham for myself, and so do you, and so does every living being use the word aham for their own self. We don't know the language of a fly or a mosquito, but if you say, I am mosquito, I am. I am a man, I am a woman, I am a mosquito, I am a monkey, I am a snake. In all of them, the I am is common, is it not so? On that I am, I keep on adding. A man, woman, happy, unhappy. So, yesterday we pointed out this. When I say I am human being, I am a human being, we are lumping two things that do not belong to the same locus. I am belongs to one locus and human being belongs to another locus. The human being is the nature of what? This body. Happy is the nature of mind. So whatever kind, that's all called ahankara. I am happy, I am unhappy, I am man, I am woman. So what I'm doing is I'm adding these things. Meaning that this man, woman, happy and are placed in the same category as I am. I'm raising them the status of I am. You see what I'm doing? Whereas they belong to a different level. They are object. The I am is subject. This body is the object. I'm lumping them together and arriving at the conclusion that I am a human being. That human being is an object of knowledge. It is not so because it belongs to the body. The happy is also an object of knowledge because it belongs to the mind. So what we are doing, we are amazing. This is an amazing feat that we are performing. Doing the impossible. These two things cannot coexist. The I am exists at one level, the subject. The human exists at a different level called the object, and they are exclusive. The subject excludes the object. That's how Brahma Sutra Bhashya begins, Bhashyakara begins that. Yushmat pratyay is you Asmat praise I. Why Yushmat Asmat? Because Asmat excludes Yushmat and Yushmat excludes Asmat. So deliberately these pronouns are used. So whenever I think of myself today, I exclude other thing other than I. So today, what's my nature of I? My I does not include you. Why? Because I say I am so and so, and therefore nothing other than so and so is included by me. But the so and so belongs to what? To the costume. The problem is that this I always comes with a costume. The Ishvara Bhagavan does not appear as he is. Always assumes when it comes to the stage, you can't come as you are. On the stage, actor cannot come as he is, he must come with a costume, is it not? The stage of the world. So Bhagavan cannot come as he is. He puts on a costume of all these names and forms. It's called Jagat. So what is changing? There is changing aspect. That is what my body, mind, the name and form about me is constantly changing. Name and form about you is changing. Name and form, the whole universe is changing. The changeless has put on a costume of changing. Because there is no other way that changeless can become the object of our transaction. If Ishvara wants to favor us so that we can talk with him, we can interact with him, then he must take an incarnation. He must become a Lord Krishna or something. Then gopis and Yashoda and all of them, they can interact with him. But this whole universe is also an incarnation of Ishvara. Ishvara has assumed this whole costume of name and form called Jagat. And name and form cannot exist independent of Asti, Bhati, Priyam. This part, you must have heard this a million times, but one more time I must repeat. This part, I'm not going to worry about pot and clay. This is a different thing. So this pot has 5 aspects. One is what? Pot is. It's called Asti. How do you say pot is? Do I have a pot in my hand? Do I have it? How do you say yes? How do you say I have a pot? I see it, Swamiji, because you are aware, isn't it? So are you aware because the pot is, or pot is because you are aware? You can't separate that. You could not be aware of pot had it not been there, and you can't say it is if you are not aware of it. That means that Asti and Bhati, they go together. Asti is Bhati. Although we use 2 verbs, is and shines, but isness cannot be determined unless you become conscious. And you cannot be conscious unless it is. Is it not so? Great secret. So, isness can be determined when there is the awareness of that, and you can be aware of this only when it is. It is called Asti. That it shines in your consciousness is called Bhati. It shines in your consciousness. It's called Bhati in Sanskrit. Asti, Bhati. So also this bangle, the material may be different, but then bangle also is and shines. See, Asti Bhati applies to everything. Good, bad, indifferent, that much credit you would give to everybody. Even a terrorist also is and shines. Asti Bhati. They also add a third thing. What is the third thing? Asti Bhati Priyam. This part is Priyam, is dear. Dear to me at least because it serves a great purpose, of illustrating and showing. Our Pujya Swami would say that Vedanta takes a part and explains the whole world, What is very dear to Shankaracharya ji? Because what would he have? He lives in a hut, isn't it? What belonging does he have? He at the most has a pot in which he brings water and stores it, isn't it? And a cloth which he, covers his body with. And perhaps to fetch water he will need a rope. That is his world. Pot and clay, pot and cloth, ghata pata. Ghata is pot, pata is cloth, and rope and snake. Rope he needs. So his world, this is his world. And in that he explains the whole Vedanta, the whole life is explained by this thing. That's all he has. For Vedanta, that seems to be enough. So, asti, bhati, priyam. You know why is it dear? Because it is useful. What do we like? We like that which is useful to us. We love that which serves our purpose, which is useful to us. So, I don't care for this pot. You will care in a given condition. I can say pot shines, pot is beautiful. Suppose I say, I don't find any beauty in this pot, Swamiji. Do you find this pot beautiful? Well, I do not see any much beauty in this pot. Is it because the pot doesn't have beauty, or it is because that I am not prepared to see it? The beauty is the reality of everything that exists. What is beautiful? Can you describe? You write an essay on beauty. Oh Swamiji, when it is this kind of a form, but what form? In Africa the form is different, India it is different, and elsewhere it is different. Is form beautiful? Is name beautiful? What is beautiful? Is the truth that is beautiful. Asti bhati is beautiful. And what is beautiful. When do we see that beauty? When we see something as beautiful, when I drop all my demands of how it should be. Usually we have our own demands of how a thing should be. When it satisfies my expectation, then I call it beautiful. So only a few things are beautiful to me because only few things satisfy my expectation. How the nose should be and how lips should be, how that should be, how color should be, how the form should be. But suppose I had no expectation at all. I had a state of mind free from all expectation, then what? Everything is beautiful. What is beautiful, but I am restricting my enjoyment of beauty by imposing conditions on what beautiful should be. If there is no condition, then what is beautiful? And has to be. Because who has created? What is beautiful? This is ugly. What do you mean ugly? Oh, because you have some notion of what beautiful is, therefore you call it ugly. If something is ugly, then everybody should find it ugly. Is it not so? That's not so. Therefore, understand that when our mind is free from all expectations of how everything should be, then everything is beautiful. There are people who spend time studying, whole life they study a mosquito or some kind of a worm and some kind of, you go to these, what do you call it, the National Geography and stuff like that, and what exotic things are there. Somebody is sending me some exotic things of different wasps and what kind of thing, how they look and what kind of home they make, and it's just amazing. Everywhere, if you look into everything, just amazing. We just need somebody to show us that. So the botanists will show us, the biologists will show us, they will show us how beautiful a cockroach is. Oh, cockroach! They study how many legs the cockroach has, how it feels, how it finds its way, how it finds things. It is most amazing. You need to be omniscient to make a cockroach. You need omniscience to make anything. But everything presupposes the need of something else, and that everything is interconnected. So Pujya Swami is very fond of saying, what is this manifestation of knowledge? There are various ways of looking at things. Omniscience. Everything that is there is the result of omniscience. I have said this earlier also, but this was pointed out to me. Look at Swamiji. Look at your fingerprint, the thumbprint. Now, they identify me by my thumbprint, isn't it? That means you don't have a thumbprint. I can be identified by my thumbprint if that's a unique thing, isn't it? Otherwise, there are several people, then if I make some mistake, if I commit some crime or something, then there are several fellows. No, thumbprint, if I left it, I'll be, they will identify me, they'll catch me. Meaning that this thumbprint must be unique in the whole universe, is not so? Because they have, what do you call it, the data bank of millions of thumbprints. Every time I enter, US or somewhere, thumbprint. Or nowadays, what is it? So they made it a little easier. But this must be unique, is it not so? You can't have what I have and so on and so forth. Why? Because when somebody made this thumbprint, he must have taken into account all the thumbprints that were in the past and all thumbprints that are presently existing in billions of people and all the thumbprints that will come in future. Then only this can be unique, is it not so? When can this thumbprint be unique? When there was none like this, there is none like this, there will be none like that. Is it not so? Who can do that? One who knows all thumbprints in the past, who knows all thumbprints in the present, and all in future also. So a simple thing as thumbprint also requires omniscience. Is it not? Everything is the manifestation of Sarvajna omniscience. Therefore it is beautiful. What is made by omniscience, not by you and I. What I can make can be ugly. Possible. In Salisbury, in a children's camp, we had a counselor, Lance Daniels, and he used to bring for children from the local place a potter's wheel and some kind of clay and demonstrate to them. And once I happened to pass by. Hey Swamiji, come here, let me show you how to make a pot. Please don't, but then, So he said, take this clay and put it here and now turn this. Just press here. Became like that. Press this way. Became like, I struggled for several minutes and what came out, nobody can describe what it was. Lion says, I'm going to display this, this Swami Vidyatatmananda's product. Everything requires skill, requires knowledge. So what I'm saying is Ishvara is everywhere. What is Ishvara? What is manifestation of omniscience? And a lot of things we can add. Manifestation of his care and compassion. Universe shows what care, is it not so? There is provision for every creature. From the birth to the growth to the death, whatever a creature will require is all provided for beforehand. Before a child is born, the food is all ready, air is ready, food is ready, everything is ready. Not like us, not our old architects. You build, not this, break down this wall, do something else. Not like that. So universe shows care, shows compassion, shows love, shows beauty, omniscience. See Ishvara everywhere. This is Saguna Brahma, even there also. But ultimately, what is beauty also results into only nirvishesha. Beauty has no vishesha, no description. So beauty also, and love also, and happiness, all of that reduced into what? nirvishesha, meaning devoid of any qualification, devoid of any limitation, devoid of any exclusion. Ishavasya. And beautiful thing is that is where Vedanta comes. This everybody will tell you. What Vedanta says, this is to be known as yourself. Atmatvena achhadaniyam. So this is to be known as yourself. That beauty and all of this is nothing but you. I can't be. I'm pretty sure who I am. Well, you're not sure who I am. If you are sure who you are, then every day I ask, how is this morning? All right. Evening, good. Some other day. Every time I identify myself differently. Right now I ask, who are you, Swami? A speaker, then listener, then walker, then talker, then eater and drinker. Who are you? Every time I keep on changing my identification, I mean, who are you? I'm not sure. Then who can I be? Says Upanishad, Atma ityeva upasita. I become a walker when I identify with the organ of walking, become a speaker when I identify with the organ of speaking, become hearer, identify with the organ of hearing. But who am I? That is also what I am. But that's incomplete, description, incomplete understanding of me. Akrusno he said. Atma iti upasita. Who am I? I am the one that is most common denominator between hearer, speaker, thinker, knower, seer. Most common denominator. What is it? I am. Ishvara also is I am. Therefore, Ishvara is to be known as your own self. Then the loop is complete. So this is what is meant by Ishavasam idam saram yat kincha jagatyam jagat. The one who is ready, called Uttamadhikari, one who is the right frame of mind, a receptive mind, the right frame of mind, the right samskara of the mind. Samskara means the preparation of the mind. See, these words which I am uttering are all understood when you have the samskara of English language and further samskara of Vedanta to whatever extent required. This samskritam manaha, the mind that is thus cultured or matured or prepared, a word will reveal its meaning when the mind has the right samskara. In the olden days, we Swami said, gagabugang, he would say, a meaningless word. So that when the samskara is not there, a word does not reveal. So words will reveal their meaning in the mind that has the right maturity, right preparation. Similarly also the word Brahma, when uttered by the teacher, the disciple will respond with understanding. These words that I am uttering, you all respond with understanding of what the meaning of these words is. So when teacher says Brahma, yes, I know. When that also creates this meaning in the mind, you know what I am saying? The knowledge takes place when the word reveals its meaning in my mind. Otherwise, it just remains a word. So, Brahman. When the word Brahma is heard, if there is a mind that is prepared, which is what Vedanta calls adhikaritvam, the preparedness. Sadhana, chatushtaya sampatti, viveka, vairagya, samadhi, satka sampatti. Meaning that preparation is there of the mind. That is the mind in which I am Brahman. This statement will reveal its meaning. So this Upadesha first is imparted to the one who has that kind of mind. But Swamiji, when I hear this, it doesn't happen. So Bhashyakara explained, then that means some more work is needed. Here gives a very beautiful example. Yatha Chandana Agarvade. Chandana means sandalwood. Agru also is a fragrant wood. Udakadi sambandha kledadijam aupadikam daurgandhyam. When a piece of sandalwood is left in water for a period of time, then that sandalwood starts stinking. Some of you may have experienced that. What happens is that because of the contact with water, the external surface of the sandalwood becomes rotted and starts stinking. You can experiment this sometime. But since Bhashyakara, I am not experimenting, but he says that, I take it for granted. Kledadijam aupadikam daurgandhyam. That daurgandhya, the sting that you find in that sandalwood. Now, so your piece of sandalwood is stinking. Is that the nature of sandalwood? So what is the sting? Is it something that is natural or incidental? There are two things, natural and incidental. Of sandalwood, what is natural? Natural fragrance is the nature of sandalwood. But sometimes we find the sandalwood stinking, displaying a quality quite contrary to its nature. Thank God, aupadiyam, it is because of some special reason why it is stinking. So, nigarshanena achhadyate, what you need to do is rub that sandalwood with a stone so that the outer surface which is stinging is rubbed and the fragrance which is inherent to the sandalwood, is it created? Did you give an injection to that wood? You spray something there? No. What is natural just becomes manifest. What is natural was somehow covered by what is unnatural. The sting that is unnatural to the sandalwood in some way covered the fragrance. So achhadaniyam, what you should do? Recognize the sandalwood as fragrant by removing. Now some work is needed. Meaning that when the mind is not ready, that the words uttered create meaning immediately, then some rubbing is to be done. The mind needs to be rubbed. So, what is happening? Swatmani adhyastam kartrutvam bhoktrutvam. Because I have superimposed upon myself kartrutvam, doership, enjoyership. I'm a human being, happy, unhappy, good, bad. So these are superimposed upon I. So mind that has this kind of samskara, the mind is colored with this superimposition or identification. The kartrutvam, somebody does perform the action. What performs the action? The body, mind, sense complex performs the action. And because of identification, I say, I perform the action. So what belongs in one place, namely the costume or the upadhi, is superimposed upon. It's like an actor. He puts on he is a billionaire. Actors are very, very wealthy people. Our Swami used to say, for acting as a beggar, he's going to be much richer. But for acting as a beggar, he'll become much richer because he'll get crores of rupees. That actor, who is a very wealthy person, for some reason something happens to him. When he comes to the stage, before coming to stage, they dress up in the dressing room. There's a huge, that's what they say, I have not seen it. There's a big mirror, and this fellow that comes and sees how I'm properly dressed and I'm all right. So this actor who is very well dressed as a beggar, before coming to stage, looks at the mirror. What does he see? What does he see in the mirror? Actor is dressed as a beggar, and before coming to the stage, it is customary just to check up, how I am dressed, etc. So he looks in the mirror, and what does he see? A beggar. Is it not so? Suppose there is some problem here. Like Swamiji's words, too many lights. He says too many lights because there are too many lights. You know what is light? You may not know. Now there are beers, the beer and the Miller light and this light. So the light, by that he means too many lights means what? Too many cans of beer this fellow has consumed for whatever reason. There are too many lights inside. So he sees so many lights outside. Comes with traffic light, intersection. Sees so many lights there. That's his way of joking. But because it's likely that today he looks at that mirror, sees a beggar, I'm a beggar. Suppose that somehow that notion arises in him. This is called Brahma. Then he comes to stage, I'm a beggar. Then what happens there? It becomes a reality. So instead of acting, this whole thing becomes real. Not that it is real, it is because of its superimposition. So, Achadanyam, this beggar, how do you make him a wealthy person? You teach him how to do business? Where to invest the money? In stock market? How do you make him a wealthy person? Achadanyam. The beggar has to be covered by what? The wealthy person. Hey, you are a wealthy person. Isn't it? So because this samskara of beggar somehow has come in his mind, they need to be rubbed by making him see that, hey, I'm a beggar. Look at the mirror. What do you see? I'm a beggar? Look at the eyes. Whose eyes are they? Whose lips are they? Whose nose is that? This is called Lakshana, this Swarupa Lakshana. The essential nature cannot be hidden, regardless of how much you dress. You can't conceal his eyes, or his nose, or his lips. A few things, however they dress, is it not so? I would imagine. So you point out to him, whose eyes are these? Whose lips are these? That is how you enlighten him. That you are not that you have to make him wealthy. Wealthy is already, he's like a 10th man. He's already wealthy. He's just to be made to see this fact. So similarly, now we may need to do some work. The reason why these words do not create in us their meaning is because just as that sandalwood starts stinking, so also some sting has entered our mind, ragadvesha as they call it. So when the mind has its impurities called attachments, aversions, kama, krodha, lobha, lust, anger, greed, a mind that is influenced by this impurity, it is called. In that mind, these words do not create an impact. And therefore, some rubbing is required. What is required? We have to get rid of those impurities from our mind. So, number one, the person in whom these words do not create knowledge, first thing that maybe he needs to deliberate upon what these words are. The Uttamadhikari is the one who doesn't need to deliberate. We are all Uttamadhikaris to understand this language, therefore we know what it is said. But here you are Brahman when it is said. Uttamadhikari says, yes, you are right. Thank you. The middling adhikari says, wait a minute, what do you mean I am Brahman? Then he has to think about it. Who am I? And thus you deliberate upon the statement, I am Brahman. And then knowledge takes place. And there is a third person who has to do much more work. So first is immediate knowledge. Second is, so vichara is required, deliberation is required. What do you mean? What do you mean I am Brahman? Because it seems to contradict everything that I am thinking about myself, and therefore analyze my conclusions right now in light of what I am told. I realize that these conclusions are wrong. I think I am so and so. What reason do I have to think that I am so and so? I have accepted it without any reasoning, without any deliberation, without any, it's just taken for granted. So second stage is that a person, he deliberates. And whatever conclusions he or she has, they subject them to scrutiny of reasoning and realize that, no, this is wrong. Human being belongs to the body. Happy belongs to the mind. All belong to Upadhi. And that when I declare myself with so and so, there is a habitual identification. So when you see that, that is how then some rubbing takes place, and by deliberation you understand the meaning of the statement. And then if that also does not work, then comes next verse. So then the ragadveshas are there which need to be removed. For that the next verse tells us what to do. In this verse, these two things are told. Uttamadhikari will see the meaning right away, and who is not that well prepared, requires to deliberate upon the meaning of the statement. Now, therefore, the next line comes, Tena tyaktena bhunjithaha. Tyaktena means tyagena. Tyaga means renunciation. By renunciation, bhunjithaha, palayathaha, may you protect this knowledge by renunciation. So comes the protection of knowledge. That you have gained the knowledge all right, but there are still my habitual errors are there, and therefore I must become abiding in the knowledge. So to protect the knowledge, keep yourself free from other influences. But tyaga or renunciation is what is prescribed here as a way of life for the aspirant who needs to deliberate. So Upadesha is there. I now need to constantly deliberate upon what is the meaning of I am, and that requires a certain frame of mind. It requires at least a leisure that my mind is not distracted by any of the demands on me. The Vedic culture, if you are a part of a system, like family, then you have to contribute. Because you are deriving benefit from that system, therefore you have to contribute your share also. So that is called duty. So as long as I am in family, I am part member of family, member of society, member of any setup, then I am deriving the benefit from the setup. In that case, it becomes my duty to contribute to that setup also. That's how the idea of duty comes. Duty means what? Something that has to be done. So the Vedic culture, a person is raised with the idea of duty. So Swami used to point out, when you ask this person, where are you going? I am going to duty. In the West they will say, I am going to work. In India, you know what they say? I am going to for duty. Work is automatically duty. The idea of duty, that I must do something, is sort of built into our mind. And this idea of duty is there as long as I am part of a setup. Family is a setup. It is the members of family support me, then only I am what I am. And therefore, every member of family has a duty to respond, to contribute. That's called duty. Tena tyaktena bhunjitaha. As long as a part of setup, such as family, such as society, so long the idea of duty, I must do this, I have to do this, will persist in your mind. And that becomes a distraction to your devoting yourself to the contemplation upon this statement, Ishavastimidam Sarvam. Therefore, to live a contemplative life, it is necessary that we should have a lifestyle that is compatible to what it is that you want to do. And here is an aspirant or a mumukshu who is committed to assimilating this knowledge. One who is known because Uttamadhikari, he is already a renunciate, that will say. But one who wants to assimilate the knowledge also needs a lifestyle which is conducive to this contemplation. And tyaktena, tyagena. So tyaga or renunciation or sannyasa is the lifestyle that is prescribed for the one who wants to lead a contemplative life. Thus, to gain the knowledge and assimilate the knowledge, what we need is contemplation, being devoted to making this as an abiding knowledge. So one who is now inspired that yes, I want to make this mine because I realize that that is the way to gain freedom. To recognize my true nature is the way of gaining freedom. If that is recognized, then I want that freedom. Then the means is to live a life of contemplation. Tena tyaktena bhunjita. Now may you protect this knowledge by a lifestyle which involves renunciation so that you are free from all other demands and expectations. Nobody expects anything from you. Bada Swami, when he was giving this Brahmacharya Diksha, etc., just jokingly would say, at least now that you are wearing yellow, one thing is sure, nobody will propose to you. That much they will keep away from you, Meaning that you live a life where these things are not there, that's all. Idea is there. You recognize that you are free from all duties, responsibilities, recognition, identification. Tena tyaktena bhunjita. We will continue our discussion tomorrow. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamada Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Krutau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah. Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshinamurtaye Namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.